Appreciate everyone's time today at lunchtime, and thank you so much for joining us for today's Queensland Training Awards introduction webinar. We might just wait one more moment while any last minute folk jump online. I'll just make sure we're recording today's session as well. And thank you to the team who are admitting our guests into the webinar as people jump online. And if you've got your lunch with you, it's certainly that time. Very much welcome to do that. Okay, we might get underway. Again, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, everybody. I'm just checking that we have quite a few online with us. It's excellent. My name is Tom Treby. I am a program manager for the Department of Trade, Employment and Training, and it's my great pleasure to work in the Queensland Training Awards along with some very esteemed colleagues that I've got on the call today as well. I'd like to start by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the lands on which we all meet and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. Just a couple of housekeeping items today, and again, apologies for that echoey start there. But for today's webinar, the attendees will not have their cameras or microphones activated for the duration of the session. Although, if you'd like to raise a question at the end and voice that one, please put your hand up, and I will activate that for you. Alternatively, feel free to use the chat or Q&A buttons that are available on your team screen to interact in that way. And also, thank you very much for those who, when completing the registration form for this webinar, added those extra couple of questions. We were able to identify that roughly 70% of those joining us today have not participated in the Queensland Training Awards before, so you're new to it, and you're absolutely in the right place, because this session today is going to be unpacking an introduction to the awards and all the things that you need to know in order to participate, and we'd very much love to have you participating in the awards in 2026. Also want to flag that next Tuesday, the 3rd of March, we'll have a second webinar, and that'll go a bit more into the nitty-gritty of preparing your nomination, and we'll be welcoming some special guests along for that session. So please join us next Tuesday if you're available to as well. I'd like to firstly introduce our Queensland Training Awards State Coordinator, Simone Smiles, who's on the line, and I've also got members of our regional network as well who are on the line. They play a really integral role in rolling out the Queensland Training Awards at a local level. For the department has an extensive Queensland-wide footprint, and we have a team throughout the state who love the Training Awards and work really hard to support nominees and the awards process in general, and put on some fantastic functions that esteem our finalists and winners. So I might even do that by name as well. So we've got some Simone there. I can see Tracy Capes, who is our regional network lead for the metropolitan region, which is for Brisbane and Ipswich, Brisbane City Council areas. Welcome, Tracy. I can see Sky as well, Sky Holford, who is from our Southeast Regional Office, which incorporates, correct me if I'm wrong, Sky, but we've got Redlands, Logan, and the Gold Coast, and Scenic Rim. Yes, got it. Yes, thank you. Joanne Bass as well. Hi, Joe. Joanne's from our North Coast region, which incorporates the Sunshine Coast, North Brisbane, Sunshine Coast, and up to the Wide Bay, Bundaberg, Maryborough, etc. Welcome, Joe. And I can see others, but not on my screen initially. So maybe put your hand up if I've missed you from our regional team. And we've got some more in the lobby as well. Courtney as well. Welcome, Courtney. Courtney's from our North Queensland office as well, in the Townsville, area, and right across west as well. And Crystal King from our Far North Queensland regional team, Cairns and the northern, the most northern area of our state. Hi, Crystal. Simone, did you want to just say a quick hello and introduce yourself there?
Tom, you were doing such a great job.
Lovely. Thank you.
Hello, thank you so much for joining our first webinar for the year. Queensland Training Awards have been around a long, long time, and it's all about the the excellence in vocational education and training. So we also, want to, I guess, give accolades to the people in that area. So this is what this program is about. And if it wasn't for all the regional coordinators, we wouldn't be able to deliver such an extensive and awards program. So welcome, and I can't wait to see your nominations come in.
Thanks, Simone. Well said. Okay, I'm going to jump into the content, and I'll try to do this as quickly and seamlessly as we can, and leave plenty of time at the end for some questions, because I know that's of a lot of value to folk online. So what are the Queensland Training Awards? So they celebrate outstanding achievements, best practice and innovation across the vocational education and training sector, and they've been around for a really long time. As Simone said, we're celebrating our 65th anniversary of the awards in 2026, so it's a fantastic year to be involved. And over that duration, the awards have highlighted the people and partnerships that build Queensland's skilled workforce. They strengthen industries, communities and the economy. So from apprentices, trainees, vocational students and teachers to trainers and employers, the awards showcase how skills and training change lives, strengthen communities and support the Queensland economy. And that wonderful picture along the bottom there of that frame is our esteemed 2025 Queensland cohort, who did tremendously well in the 2025 Queensland Training Awards, all smiling and very happy to be announced the winners. I just wanted to also share some fast facts with you out of the most recent campaign in 2025. So we had roughly 750 nominations in last year, and when I say they were from right around the state, I really do mean that, because we had nominations from as far north as Badu Island, as far south as Cunnamulla, as far west as Mount Isa, and as far east as Norfolk Island, believe it or not. So the awards really do stretch the length and breadth of the state in identifying outstanding vocational education and training ambassadors. And our top 5 qualification areas for the awards last year happened to be business. So that's a really strong area where nominations come in. Carpentry was second, then hospitality third, electrotechnology fourth, and hairdressing was fifth in terms of the areas or the pathways where the most nominations came through of those 750. But that being said, we really do every year attract a really broad and diverse range of vocational education and training pathways through our finalists. So we had some finalists who was completing pathways in mental health, agriculture, driving operations, horticulture, conservation and ecosystem management, supply chain operations, counselling, painting and decorating, furniture making and animal care, just to name a few. So just to give an idea that it really is not about just those top level trades. We really do attract and amplify pathways from all over the vet sector, which is amazing and wonderful to see. So why nominate, you ask? Well, it really is a perfect opportunity to celebrate achievements in vocational education and training. It's a great networking opportunity with peers and industry leaders, and it's really about gaining recognition for individuals and organisations who are excellent in the vet space. So you can be recognised. Being recognised as a Queensland Training Awards finalist or winner offers statewide recognition for those individuals and organisations involved, and I can really attest that last year we had fantastic regional media coverage of winners on radio, TV, print, and social impressions were extremely high as well. So it really is about having that platform. It also gives people an increased professional and industry visibility. The awards are really well supported by the vet sector in Queensland. So, coming to an event and participating in the awards really does open doors for those who are involved. it's an exceptional opportunity to share your story and inspire others. And that's probably the crux of why we do the Queensland Training Award. It's about raising the profile of vocational education and training. And we do that by sharing stories of people and organisations who do great things, who overcome significant barriers and really forge a path for those who come behind them. So it really is about telling stories and sharing what can be achieved for individuals and organisations. It can really support career progression, recruitment, and partnerships. And there's plenty of stories of people who've gone on to who've gone from strength to strength in their careers by having Queensland Training Awards win on their CV and that connected network in the vet space in Queensland. It's the opportunity to represent your state and at the Australian Training Awards, which is a really exciting pathway. It's sort of the end of the journey. I know it's exciting to yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Simone. Yeah, obviously vocational education and training, when I refer to vet, that's what I mean. Yeah, so knowing that you can start from a place of nomination, go through judging, go through our events, and then ultimately lead up, end up as a Queensland representative going to the national competition is a really phenomenal pathway that changes lives. So it's another reason to throw your hat in the ring and be involved. And also submitting a nomination is quick, easy, and free. So there's plenty of other awards programs out there. Some of them, have fees associated with them, but this one being an esteemed Queensland government program, there are no fees involved in nominating, and the online nomination process is designed to be as quick and easy as possible, while still allowing people to share their stories and respond to criteria in that nomination phase. And yeah, as I said, it can really take you places. I was just thinking back to our 2025 winners. We had people, we had people on billboards, people on the side of buses, fantastic media coverage. It really puts people out there and esteems those vocational education and training pathways, which is amazing. And who knows what this year will bring. So it's an exciting, and it's a very exciting program year on year as well. So I'm going to move on to the awards categories to get going. So this is a really important part to know to which category to go into in order to submit a nomination and be part of the awards. So there are categories for individuals like apprentices and trainees, students. There's also categories for organisations like training providers and employers, but they're all displayed here on the screen. There are 10 categories that are initially contested at a regional level, so they're within our 7 regions across Queensland, and then those last 3 there are state-only categories. So when you apply for those, you go straight through to the state level judging and awards process. So I will go through those in a little bit more order as well, in a little bit more detail to sort of step those out. And then we'll go on to the eligibility for those as well. Just noting that there's plenty of resources available online. If you didn't catch something or wanted to delve a bit further, please know that all this is listed and very easily findable on our QTA website, which is qta.qld.gov.au. So the Apprentice of the Year Award, which is named in honour of the late Harry Hornschild, is presented to an individual who's undertaking an apprenticeship and has been outstanding in all aspects of their training. Similar for the Trainee of the Year, which is named in honour of the late Bob Marshman as well. It's for an individual who's been undertaken a traineeship and is been outstanding in all aspects of their training. The vocational student is presented to someone who has been outstanding in all aspects of their training, leading to a nationally recognised qualification or outcome. The Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander Student of the Year is for an Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander student who has been outstanding in all aspects of training again, and demonstrates the importance of lifelong learning for themselves and their community. So this category is not a direct entry category, so to speak. An applicant would submit a nomination either in apprentice, trainee, vocational student, or school-based or Trainee of the Year, then they would follow some steps and prompts to then submit an additional criteria for the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Student of the Year award. But again, we'll go into that in more detail later. So the school-based apprentice or trainee of the year is for outstanding achievement by a Queensland school-based apprentice or trainee undertaking or completing a Certificate 2 or above qualification and enrolled at school at the time of nominating, which is really important there. The Equity Student of the Year Award is for a student who's demonstrated outstanding achievement in overcoming a significant barrier or disadvantage to effectively participate in vocational education training. And the Vet Teacher or Trainer of the Year Award is for innovation and excellence by a teacher or trainer providing nationally recognised training to students at a registered training organisation or in partnership with a registered training organisation. Okay, so they're the individual categories on the left there. The organisational ones, we have Small Employer of the Year, which is for a small business with 99 or fewer full-time equivalent employees. And that has achieved excellence in providing nationally recognised training to its workforce. And then the Large Employer of the Year is very similar, but it is for large businesses with 100 or more full-time equivalent employees. The Community Training Initiative of the Year is also contested at the regional level first, and it is for a community-based not-for-profit organisation delivering a specific program or project programs or projects to Queenslanders who need support to gain the skills, experience and qualifications required to enter and stay in the workplace. So it's for community organisations, and we'll touch on that in the eligibility next slide as well. For our state direct categories, we have the Small Training Provider of the Year, which is for a small registered training organisation with fewer than 500 students. That demonstrates excellence, and the Large Training Provider is again the same for a registered training organisation with 500 or more students as well. So that's the distinction there between the small and large. And then finally, the Premier's Industry Collaboration Award is for an exemplary skills development collaboration between at least one employer / industry body and at least one training provider. Okay. So that's a snapshot of all of the categories. I'm sorry, there's a bit there to take in. But again, as I said previously, plenty of information on the website. I'll now go on to the eligibility of both the key eligibility points for the individual categories and the employer categories as well. So the eligibility does vary from category to category. So as I said previously, please check out the website for full eligibility and selection criteria for each. But a quick snapshot is as follows. So the main eligibility window for apprentices, trainees and vocational students is to have recently completed or be completing the training qualification between the 1st of July last year and the 30th of June this year, so the current financial year. I guess that's the sort of main parameter for participating in the awards in 2026. If you're finishing after that, you might have to wait till next year. And if you finish previous to that, then we may have missed the boat there. But that key eligibility window is the current financial year for the individual apprentice, trainee, vocational student categories. For the equity student category, that window is slightly bigger. So it's actually the full calendar year 2025 and the full calendar year 2026 for the equity student category. And so all individual category entrants must be a permanent resident of Australia and meet the conditions of entry as well, which I'll touch on again shortly. There's a link to that to the QCHA website as well. Vocational students as well. So they're completing a nationally recognised qualification in a wide array of areas. They can be a full-time or part-time student, but they cannot be an apprentice or trainee. Obviously, they will need to go into the apprentice or trainee category there. So that's a key point around the vocational student. So for the school-based as well, the school-based apprentice or trainee category, the nominee needs to be undertaking or completing a Certificate 2 or above qualification through a school-based apprenticeship or traineeship so a contract with the department as well, and be enrolled, as I said previously, be enrolled at school at the time of nomination is the key there. For the equity student, I mentioned before that category is specifically for those who've experienced a significant barrier or disadvantage to effectively participating in training. Those barriers may include, but are not limited to, low level of educational skills development, literacy and numeracy, disability, culturally and linguistically diverse backgrounds, including refugees, long-term unemployment, health issues, returning to the workforce, following caregiving, family responsibilities, or change of circumstance. So this category is mostly designed for to acknowledge participants from the Queensland Government Skilling Queenslanders for Work program, which may be well known to those on the call. But if it certainly doesn't preclude others from nominating in that category. It's just I would say that the majority of those entrants are Skilling Queenslanders for Work participants in those various programs. So the vet teacher or trainer, the main eligibility is they must be a qualified teacher trainer, employed or regularly contracted by a registered training organisation, having delivered training in Queensland between the 1st of January last year and the 31st of December this year, leading to nationally recognised qualifications, and that there must be a RTO letter of endorsement provided with the nomination as well, and evidence of the teacher trainer qualification as well provided during the nomination for that one. Okay, so for our employers as well, so as I said before, the small employer is for 99 or fewer full-time equivalent employees. There must be, the entrants must have a Queensland head office and have an ABN as well, and there must be some vet qualifications delivered to employees, and also noting that the core business cannot be vocational education and training. So if your core business is vocational education training, then you're going to be eligible for one of the training provider categories rather than the employer category. And it's the same for large employer, having a Queensland head office and an ABN, and offering some kind of vet qualifications to staff and not having vocational education training as core business. For the community training initiative as well, we have entrants must be a community-based organisation based in Queensland with not-for-profit objectives, delivering services in Queensland, and be able to demonstrate successful experience in providing tailored, employment outcome-focused, community-based services and support to a range of participants. So this category again is designed to acknowledge the providers of our Queensland Government Skilling Queenslanders for Work program. But again, that's not a prerequisite for this category, but it is designed to recognise those community-based organisations delivering SKU. And then for our training providers, again, it's registered training organisations delivering vet services in Queensland with student, and so the student numbers being either over or under 500 students. So that number is based on student numbers at the time of nomination as reported by the most recent NCVER data collection period. Okay. And for the Premier's Industry Collaboration Award, last one, guys, in this hectic amount of detail, but award entrants must have at least one party that is an industry organisation, so an employer, an enterprise, a group of enterprises, industry association, or advisory body, trade union or professional association. So that's a broad range of industry organisations there under that classification. And then at least one party that's delivering nationally recognised training or directly contributing to the outcomes of nationally recognised qualifications under the Australian Qualifications Framework, and have the lead organisation's head office in Queensland. Okay. Thank you for bearing with me with that as we went through the main eligibility for all those categories. I just wanted to circle back to the conditions of entry as well. So we've actually recently updated our conditions of entry on the QTA website, and this is in line with the Queensland, so the Information Privacy Act, but also the Queensland privacy principles that came online recently. And basically our new conditions of entry clearly outline how and where we will use your personal information, including photos and videos to do with the awards, and who they may be used by and how. So when you submit your nomination through the online nomination platform Awardforce, you'll be prompted about the terms and conditions and the conditions of entry. But please refer back to our website if you want to review those in full, and contact our team if you have any questions in relation to that as well. Okay, so there are certainly a range of frequently asked questions available on our website as well, but I picked a couple out, I guess, that are the most frequently asked questions, and they're just mentioned on the screen here as well. But I might actually throw to our regional network here. Would anyone like to jump on and respond to the question of who can write a nomination? Whether someone can nominate themselves or nominate someone else. Yeah. I see that our team are not clamouring to put hands up, but unless I'm not seeing that, but no. Okay. Well, how about I start the first one off? So yeah, you can certainly write a nomination yourself, but you can also write a nomination on behalf of someone else. So if you are nominating someone else, there's a step in the online process where you submit your nomination, and basically the person you are nominating will receive an email where they with a link to formally accept the nomination. So it's not a surprise to the nominee that they certainly acknowledge and are part of the nomination process. But there, yeah, you certainly can write that one on behalf of someone else and submit it, but there will be a sort of a checkpoint where the actual nominee opts in and approves the nomination, and then the nominee should contact that original nominator if they want any changes made or information on the nomination required as well. So yeah, that's that first one. What about what region do I nominate in? That's a frequently asked question as well. And there's a section on our website that has a lot of detail in that regard as well. But anyone want to jump on for that question? What region do I nominate in?
I think our coordinators have gotten shy. Might have to actually just be going, okay, Sky, you're up.
Don't be shy. That's it.
I am having troubles with my screen, so I don't know what's going on there, but can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So the first thing I would suggest for what region can I nominate in is we actually have a very good and very useful tool on our QTA page that actually says check my region. So you can actually type in your region that you are in, so your suburb, and it will very clearly tell you whether you're in the southeast region, whether you're in the metropolitan region, and things like that. It does get a little bit tricky when you are nominating from a GTO, for example, because GTOs tend to have a central location, and normally that happens to be in Brisbane. However, it is very likely that you live and work in another region. So that's where then you can specify in your nomination that you live and work in a selected region, and we will just confirm that with you when we go through your nomination.
Well answered, Sky.
Perfect. Thank you, Sky. Lovely. And how about, can I nominate more than one individual or organisation? Joe, would you be able to take that one for us?
Joe's up.
Look, you're just on mute.
Yep.
I guess if it's an employer who has many apprentices and trainees, they might actually work with their employees to help them submit a nomination. Of course, some large organisations have their own marketing team. So sometimes a marketing team might write for apprentices and trainees who, like with an employer or even with an RTO, many RTOs have their own marketing team as well that might help their students submit a nomination. And then was going to say, even if you, as an individual, if you met the criteria, sometimes you have a person who maybe identify as Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander, have done an apprenticeship, so they might enter under the Apprentice of the Year, tick the box to say they identify and wish to nominate in that Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander category. But if they've also had a lot of barriers, then they might even nominate into the equity student category as well. So even though that's not quite the question about can I nominate more than one individual or organisation, but as an individual, you might also nominate into a couple of categories yourself.
Absolutely,
I'll just add to that. So
Yep.
No one person can be entered more than once into a category. They can enter multiple categories if they actually can address the eligibility criteria. That is the same with an organisation. So you won't have, John Smith's car mechanic shop, in the all category 3 times because 3 people have nominated him. It's one application that will be actually accepted within a category. And in terms of actually writing the nominations, if you're an organisation and you have 3 apprentices that you actually want to enter, you can, by all means, you can actually nominate them, yes. But from our side of things and from our point of view, it's always best to work with the nominee on the actual application, because the last thing that you want is the nominee getting to the interview or the team's interview stage and them not even knowing what's in their application. And I can assure you that has happened. We've had people turn up and for their interviews and not even know what's in the application and couldn't actually answer the questions about the application. So if you're actually nominating more than one person, please work with that person to actually complete the actual nomination.
Absolutely.
Anybody else want to add to that one?
Yeah, I was just going to say also, like last year, we had a vet teacher trainer who did actually teach all over Queensland and nominated themselves in all 7 regions. And you can't do that, because otherwise, if you were a finalist in every region, then you'd be competing against yourself, which you just can't do. So it's the one main region where you do your teaching, or you need to pick one.
Yes, exactly. Well said, Joe. And it's similar for an employer category as well. So either you can decide to nominate as a single organisation, with your statewide footprint in one nomination based on where your headquarters are, or alternately, if you wanted to nominate a part of your business in a certain location, that would be okay, but you would only obviously be utilising information and data based on that one location, and knowing that you might come up against other. That's sort of the distinction you need to make as an employer as well. Simone, did you want to add to that one?
Yeah, so we had a question come in the Training Awards email box the other day, and also come through Metro. An organisation has a branch up here in Queensland, and they're doing some amazing things. But because head office is actually ABN registered in a different actual state and territory, that business would actually have to enter in that state or territory that the ABN is. So that little office front that was doing amazing things here in Queensland can't enter on behalf of the business in Queensland just on their small operation. They can actually do the nomination for the whole of the business, but that would have to be entered in where the actual ABN is registered.
Excellent. That's a great example. And it just goes to show, guys, that we do encounter queries and examples like this regularly. So please reach out to the team if you do have any questions about this. So the last FAQ there, Simone, is how a nomination is judged. I might throw to you for that one quickly. We've also got some pre-submitted questions, so we might hold those off to the end. But if you want to just quickly talk to how a nomination is judged.
So when you actually fill out the application form, basically at the end of the nomination period, there's upwards of 600 odd nominations typically in there that we have the regional coordinators make sure that they're actually all eligible to be in those categories. We actually call it data cleansing. So basically, every nomination is looked at, every nomination is checked to make sure that they're eligible and also in the correct category. So once they are deemed eligible and can progress, then they actually move on to online judging. So we have upwards of 70 now judges that will actually be looking at all the nominations that are eligible. They're actually judged on an online portal on written. Once the judging has actually completed, the top 5 scores in the individual categories will go through to a Teams interview. And in the orgs, it'll be the top 3 that will actually go through to Teams interviews after that. Teams interviews are then conducted, and then basically at the end of the written and the Teams interviews, the scores are actually added together to actually give us, our top 3 in each of the regions. And then basically the winners out of those regional will then go through. They don't actually have to sit through another interview process, but the judges all come together and have a look at, the winners from each of the regions. So they're comparing apples with apples. And not apples and peaches. You're all amazing, winners within your region. So they compare, and then they actually come up with the actual state winner. So all the actual winners from a region will come to state awards. But that is actually how the judging happens. So it's a nomination online, then they get online judging, and then we actually do top 5, top 3 reporting, and then we do a Teams interview, and then that gives us our regional outcome, and then our regional winners then come on through to state. That is how the judging actually happens. But I will actually outline that with the combined scores, the actual written application is made up. It's a 30-70 split. So 30% written and 70% on the actual Teams interview. Now, the reason why that is done is because we're actually looking for vet ambassadors. Vet ambassadors have to be able to actually talk about vocational education and training, and actually, promote and be able to actually talk the talk as well as walk the walk. So it's all great to actually have an amazing nomination, but we need you to be able to actually talk about that as well. So that's why there's a 70-30 split. Both those scores are added together to actually have a combined score. So that's judging.
Amazing. Thank you, Simone. That was really well put. Okay, guys, so I'm going to leave plenty of time now for additional questions. I've just got a couple of extra steps to go through really quickly, and also prefacing that we've got our session next week that's a bit more focused on preparing your nomination. But yeah, there are 5 simple steps to preparing your nomination. You check your eligibility and requirements, as we've mentioned today. You gather supporting materials like photos, project details, certificates, letters of support that are all really important to as attachments to your nomination. There's help in drafting your responses as well to set criteria. You refine and you review and refine your written work, and then you submit it by the close of nominations, which is I will skip forward to. Okay.
27.
Yeah, so yeah, the nominations are closing on the Sunday, the 22nd of March, which is a Sunday, and that close at midnight there. So we do see lots of nominations that come through over that last weekend as well. It's just that human nature aspect of, leaving things to when they're due. That's a-okay, but we do encourage you to get involved early and put some time and effort into the preparation of your nomination. We say no extensions. I mean, the only situation where we had an extension last year was due to the cyclone. So notwithstanding Queensland adverse weather events, knock on wood, and everything's fine, we'll be closing nominations on Sunday, the 22nd of March. And just some other key dates as well. So as Simone said, we've got our nominations closing on the 22nd of March. The judging component happens from the end of March and into May. Then we have our regional events across Queensland from the end of July and into mid-August, with which are all, there'll be 7 amazing functions right across the state. It'll all culminate in the state awards final presentation in Brisbane on the Saturday, the 19th of September, and then our Queensland winners from there will then progress on to the Australian Training Awards, which are happening in Sydney in 2026. And that'll be happening on the 20th of November. Just a couple of key dates to to put forward. So it's a lovely photo of Tracy and Maddie from our Metro team there. So yeah, I might just, before we open the floor to more broad questions from today, I might throw back to Simone to talk through any of the pre-submitted questions that came through. There were a handful that came through in that registration form. Is that okay, Simone?
Yeah, absolutely. I just wanted to backtrack a little bit just with the national awards. So anybody that is in a category which is nationally aligned are all put forward to the nationals. So that we do have 2 categories that are not nationally aligned, so you will not progress to nationals at all. That's the Australian Training Awards. So the Equity Student of the Year and the Community Training Initiative of the Year will not be put forward because we don't have aligned categories in the national area. But all others will. The individuals will go straight through as a finalist, whereas the actual businesses have to go through another step at the national level to then be eligible to become a finalist. You will become a nominee, but then you'll go through that next process. You'll have an actual, the judges will read your application and then they take the top 3 through. So if you're lucky enough and you're in the top 3, you then become the Queensland finalist at the National Awards. So I just wanted to clarify that one. Okay. So we'll just jump onto these questions. School-based RTO, can we apply in this category and Premiers in the Premiers Industry Collaboration Award? The short answer is yes, you can, but you have to meet the eligibility criteria for both. So if you actually meet the eligibility criteria in both of those categories, you can enter both of those awards, which I think I touched on briefly earlier. Okay. Question 2, does active participation in industry, e.g. consultancy, advisory boards, hands-on industry practice strengthen an application? I mean, absolutely, it's going to strengthen your application. You know, all experience in the industry will do. However, just because you've got a certificate that says you've done this and this applicant doesn't, it's not going to actually give you more brownie points as such. It will, you know, because you've got the actual extra industry experience, that's probably going to give you a leg up as such. But as I just explained, it's a 30-70 split. So it's basically, you know, your nomination is the written part and we've got, you know, the certificates and all that sort of stuff. But it's, you know, when we get to asking you questions in the Teams interview and the face-to-face, you know, so if you can actually tell your story and you know, demonstrate to the judges that you've got these certificates and you use it in industry, it's definitely going to help out. But it's not the only thing that will get you through. Okay. Question 3, how much weight is given to learner outcomes, such as students winning industry awards? This is very similar to the question above, I guess. You know, if someone's got an award, that's great, but it's, you know, being able to demonstrate that you can deliver, you can work within the industry, and that's kind of very similar to the question above. What distinguishes a finalist application from a well-written but average one? So I did actually contact one of our judges for the actual response to this question. I, as a state coordinator, I don't actually look at the nominations because I need to be seen to be fair and partial to everybody. So I don't actually read them, and I literally, in the judging panels, I'm in and out and I don't actually listen to what's going on. So the answer to that question, basically from one of the judges, is there are many differences between a well-written and average application. A well-written application demonstrates the written ability of the applicant to showcase their strengths via reflection of their time, achievements, and perhaps real-world challenges that they have faced. It also provides the applicant an opportunity to provide different scenarios and examples for each question, showing their true journey and really challenging the applicant to think back over the period of their study. An application with depth, experience, variety, and correct grammar is also very important. So there's a little note, additional note from the judge about grammar. Tracy, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I was just going to add something there, Simone. I've read in the last 4 years, I guess, plenty of nominations, And
Yep.
also I've been on a judging panel on occasion as well. And to keep it really simple, probably some of the best advice I could give around writing your nomination, and this will definitely come up probably next week in the next webinar, is to look really carefully at what the criteria questions are and the considerations that are listed under each of those questions. When you look at each of the criteria, you'll see, like for instance, for vocational student, criteria 1's career and study achievements, and it asks you 4 questions under that heading. Why did you choose your course? How's it changed or impacted you? What have you gained, and what have you been able to bring to your workplace? I would literally answer those 4 questions, because that is similar to what the judges are seeing as well in terms of what they're looking for out of your answers. So if you can, at the very minimum, answer each of those considerations that's listed under each of the criteria, you'll do really well.
Thanks, Tracy.
Yep.
Okay, next question. Evidence. Like that person. Evidence required is listed in the nomination. In each of the categories under, it's evidence required points for students to include in the application. So when you're actually in the portal and when you actually go through the nomination process, the evidence required is actually listed in the nomination in each of the actual categories under section C. So there's actually, it outlines what sort of attachments are required, and those things that are required are professional headshots. We can't have selfies. That just doesn't work. So having a selfie in a program or put up on a big screen is probably not appropriate for an awards platform. So no selfies. Professional headshots and 3 to 5 workplace publicity photos, ensuring that you have the correct consent. Make sure you've got your PPE in place. And, you know, if it's a business, it can be a picture of the employee standing out front of the business. It doesn't actually have to be on the floor as such. But we need some workplace photos. And then there's your optional supporting materials, and that's like letters of support. So letters from your teacher, from your employer, from any of your customers, any newspaper articles or newsletters that have got write-ups or anything that is about yourself, and any sort of copies of awards or certificates, they can actually go in the application as well. There is a limit of how many A4 pages that you can actually upload. So just have a look at the actual, you know, attachment section in the actual category. If you do have any further questions on that, by all means, contact your regional coordinator and they'll actually help you out with that one. Okay, can you please give some examples of the type of questions that we will have in Teams interviews? Katja, we will definitely, closer to the time, we will definitely actually provide some examples of questions. For the moment, we won't, but definitely, you know, if you're sort of going through to the Teams interview, we'll provide those.
Just on that as well, Simone, I think just on Katja's question there, if you think about the written criteria and what that's trying to achieve in the written nomination sense, I think the interview questions are probably aligned to those sort of ideas, but probably give the opportunity for the interviewer to delve a bit deeper. So it is important to be familiar with what you've said in your written nomination, and also know that the judges have already reviewed that as well. They really want to, in that interview setting, you know, get to sort of see the person behind the words, you know, that they want to be able to, for you to be able to, you know, explain and share your story with them. So yeah, I would say that the interview questions are probably aligned to those written, to those written criteria, sort of similar ideas, but allow you to sort of elaborate and expand on those, I would say, generally.
Yep. Fabulous.
Yeah.
And in relation to the vet ambassadors, on our Queensland Training Awards website, there are a couple of testimonials on there in relation to, you know, previous past winners that have got quite a successful story. Jenna Halley is doing an amazing thing. She's actually, since in the time that I've met her, she's actually won nationals. She was an MC at nationals. She come back and MC'd our state awards. She's in the photo stock library. She's a spokeswoman for women in industry. She was also sort of the face of Maz National there for a while. So, you know, she's done some amazing things in her area. So Ellie Farrington in the carpentry world. So if you have a look at Ellie Farrington, she was a previous carpenter. She's actually doing amazing things as well within her industry. So I guess it's all industry specific. And, you know, Jenna being an ambassador, our sort of it gives you the opportunities to go back to nationals, to go back and judge at nationals, to go and actually, you know, become mentors at the national level. We actually have some of our Queensland winners come back and be mentors as well to actually get our next group of winners ready for the national awards. So there's sort of some examples of, you know, what being an ambassador is all about.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Simone. I guess there's some great examples of where those ambassadorial roles have taken those participants along the way. And I think as many opportunities present themselves, you know, during and after, there's also being an ambassador, you know, or the possibility or the opportunity to be an ambassador beforehand. And I was thinking about our state apprentice of the year last year, Jess. I mean, she again was you know, she is a woman in a non-traditional trade, and she had you know, like she was an advocate for that, having you know, a social media channel dedicated to that, and she was a podcast co-host. I mean, I'm not saying that everyone needs to do that necessarily, but it's about sharing your story in your own unique way. It might be on a job site with your colleagues, or going back to your school and talking to school kids who are interested in that sort of thing. It's about the propensity for someone to embrace those opportunities to be an ambassador for VET in sharing their story. So yeah, I guess that's also trying to cut to the essence of that question from Cassie as well. The great questions. I really appreciate those as well.
All right, I've got one last question here. What opportunities are there for business owners that train apprentices? So there are 2 employee categories, but there's also the Community Training Initiative and the Premier's Industry Award. As long as you meet the eligibility criteria, you can enter into those categories. But by all means, if you have more direct questions around those you know, categories, please get in contact with your regional coordinator and they're more than happy to help you out. There is a question here. Well, it's kind of a question. First time doing nominations for our students and apprentices. That's all I kind of got. So if you're online and that was your question that was actually put through, please can you get in contact with me, and then we can have a chat and discuss what it is exactly that you're wanting from that. But hopefully this webinar has helped answer some of those questions. So that's all the questions that I have here, Tom. So back over to you.
Yeah, excellent. Look, we've got a couple of minutes. If anyone wanted to put a last question in now's probably your opportunity to. Otherwise, as we've said throughout, please feel free to reach out to us or the team directly. There's contact details on the QTA website, or you can respond via this webinar as well. But I don't think we have any further questions.
Do any of the coordinators want to add anything? No, quiet bunch today.
Excellent. That's all good. We might, okay, well, we might, in the interest of time and being just about right on time, we might close up, but just wanted to say thank you so much for your time today. We hope you found the information useful. We hope that you found the introduction to our regional network useful as well, faces to names, and just to reiterate that we are all here to support you in this process and in this nomination journey. We really implore you to get involved in the Queensland Training Awards in 2026. It's a fantastic program, but it's brought to life by the great stories of the participants. So we look forward to seeing you and meeting you and getting you in. Please reach out to us if you have any questions going forward. Thank you. Have a good afternoon. Appreciate your time, and we'll
thank you.
See you again soon.
See you guys.
Thank you.